Hey there and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, head into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever tried to hide your identity by going by the same name again, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I really enjoy it when my mummy chokes me.
I hate that you just said I
I
hate
had
it.
to. I
All
had
right.
to.
Okay. I'm Nico and I'm the pod's Egyptologist.
Ho ho!
Well, I'm Dan and Mummy? Sorry. Mummy? Sorry.
Of course.
And today, dear listener, we are continuing down the path this October Halloween month with our look into, well, a specific kind of film. Dan, what have we been looking at all month and what are we doing today?
Well, you see, it's like when you go to Home Depot and you get
Yeah.
this tool to
Yeah.
smash nails.
Yes.
We're looking at Hammer horror films. And today is our last one,
Oh,
which is The Mummy, 1959.
of course. That's very important. It's
It
very
is.
important. So stop me if you've heard this one before. This was directed by Terence Fisher, starring Christopher Lee as the mummy, also playing Karis, Peter Cushing as John, Yvonne Furneaux as Isabel, also playing Princess Ananka, George Pastel as Mehmet, and Raymond Huntley as Joseph. So we open in Egypt in the grand year of 1895. An Egyptologist named John Banning is trying to locate a forbidden tomb with his father and uncle. Unfortunately, John breaks his leg and refuses to go to the hospital to fix it. This results in his being unable to take part in the search, and he also develops a limp as a result. He really doesn't care though. Good news. John's uncle and father didn't need him anyways, as the pair locate the forbidden tomb, despite the warnings of Mehmet, a local who implies that something really bad could happen if they proceed. John's uncle returns to the camp to tell him the good news, but John's father reads from the scroll of life, awakening the mummy, and while he's not physically hurt, his mind breaks from the sheer terror. Mehmet prays to his god to help him use the mummy as a tool of vengeance on John and his family for entering the forbidden tomb.
Would you call it revengeance, Justin?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty solid. Well, Nico, that was a very solid reference, and I didn't mess anything up there. What happens next?
So we fast forward 3 years. So 1898 for those of you keeping score at home.
Yes.
And we see that John's father is in an elder care facility for people with, I think it was listed as severe mental illness on the front sign. And his father's been unresponsive for these 3 years, but now out of nowhere, he's asking for his son. So he tells John that he saw the mummy and that he fears it's gonna come get him. But John's just like, nah, it's not gonna happen, Pops, believe me. Unfortunately, though, Mehmet has donned a new alias, also named Mehmet, and is in England with the mummy to take revenge on the family. The first victim is John's father, naturally, as the mummy ruthlessly enters his room and chokes the life out of him.
Well, for more on that, we turn to Dan, no stranger to having to choke someone out. What happens next, Dan?
None at all. Afterwards, John and his uncle get together to discuss what could have possibly happened to his father. John suggests that the pair read over his father's effects in an attempt to find any enemies that he may have had, and they stumble over the legend of Karis and Princess Ananka. Basically, Princess Ananka was a princess in love with Karis, a high priest, but the two could never be together. Ananka dies, and Karis enters the forbidden tomb, her forbidden tomb, and tries to revive her. Unfortunately, he was caught and mummified. Can I get an F in the chat for my boy?
Damn.
John's uncle doesn't put much stock into the myth until, bam, the fucking mummy bursts out the front door and chokes John's uncle. John shoots the mummy, but it's not very effective, and the mummy leaves.
Huh. Well, for more on this,
Hate to see it.
no stranger to a choke, Nico, what's going to happen next?
Machoke was my most successful Pokemon in Gen 1. Don't at me.
Okay.
Yeah. The cops slide through at this point, and John tells him what happened, but shock and awe, they don't believe him. And because it's pretty fucking wild to hear, honestly. But that was a mistake because not too long after, shock and awe, the mummy shows up to murderate John. As it's choking him out, though, John's wife Isabel shows up and screams. And as luck would have it, she just looks absolutely identical to the mummy's lost love, Ananka. Old Egyptian looks like a white woman. We're going to talk about that at some point, I promise
Don't
you.
worry about it, bro.
And so he leaves. The cops then slide through again, and they're more open to the idea of the mummy now, given the circumstances. So they tell John that Mehmet is in town, which leads John to go through and have a somewhat antagonistic conversation with him. It was very... there was, I don't know if it was intentional, but there was some definite sexual tension there in that scene.
Wow, I didn't get that.
Wait,
All right.
what the fuck?
I think like in a it's sort of like queer reading of it, absolutely. But we can come back to that later. He then goes back home and makes a plot with the cops, but they need more time to gather some troops.
Uh-huh. Well, Dan, I need you to wrap this one up, if you will.
Well,
Lyrical, miracle, spiritual.
Mehmet goes with the mummy to attack John, but Isabel intervenes again. Mehmet then tells the mummy to kill her, but instead the mummy kills him. Uno
Whoa.
reverse.
Oh no!
It then grabs Isabel and heads towards the local swamp/bog. The Bobbies, aka the police, the 5-0, show up, and John works with them to help Isabel escape the mummy's clutches. Once she's safe, they start blasting, and the mummy sinks into the depths of the bog, defeated. The end. And I'll give it over to you, Justin, who's no stranger to being choked out.
Well,
Or defeated.
no, we're going to
Or
go with the
defeated.
former, because that's how you defeat me. IRL, bro. It has to be that way. But in any case, how does this movie sound? Well, it does not sound like someone being choked out. But for more on that, I turn to you,
I
Dan.
already hate this episode.
What's good here?
So I think the movie sounds all right. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it didn't do anything spectacular, but it did the job well, as we've kind of mentioned throughout the course of the podcast in several movies.
Yes.
It has that classic Hammer soundtrack, as we've kind of mentioned in the last couple of episodes. Overall, I think it was pretty good.
Do we know if it's the same person who's orchestrated each film?
I don't think it's
I
the
don't know.
same. I don't know, though.
I don't know about that, but to be fair, Terence Fisher has directed all but one of
Yeah.
the movies we've seen. So it's pretty fair to imagine he kind of has his idea on...
The sound in mind, yeah.
What if all of these movies are just all the same people?
I
Like
know,
the
right?
exact
Wouldn't that
same
be-
people for
wouldn't
the
that be
entire
funny?
crew.
I mean, hey, you never know. You never know. I don't know.
I kind of hope that's what it is.
I agree with you, Dan. I think for the most part, this is not really adding anything super new into the pot, so to speak, compared to what we've seen before. It is just a bunch of classic sounds and just cool stuff overall. Nico, any take on the sound from you?
Yeah, I mean, as usual, our actors give really good performances, barring Christopher Lee, who doesn't really do too much.
Yeah, we'll talk
Um,
about that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But like Dan said, it comes with a certain vibe that all the Hammer films come with, and I dig it.
So now we're going to swap over to looks here. I have one thing in particular I want to talk on, but first, Dan, we're going to go back to you here. How's this movie look?
I think it looks pretty good. I
Mm.
like Christopher Lee's costume as the mummy. I thought that would look
Yeah.
kind of good. And I think I had read that the Scroll of Life, I think, is like a replica of the scroll that was found in like King Tut's tomb or something like
okay.
that. So like,
Okay.
That's cool.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I can't really say. I'm not an Egyptologist, so I can't
true.
really say how accurate that whole set of the tomb and everything was. But
Yes.
at least
I can
parts of it
sure
seem to
fucking
be.
tell you it wasn't greenlit.
Maybe it was.
Maybe it
You don't
was.
know.
Bruh.
Hey,
You're telling me they had fucking
lasers, though.
neon
They had
lights?
lasers,
they had
all right?
electricity.
Electricity. Come on.
And so they had lamps that could last for like millennia.
Yeah.
Remember, Nico, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. So I'm going to need you to relax.
Yeah.
And tell me what you thought about how this movie looked.
Okay, so hot take. It has the regular Hammer production sheen, which is, I think, a good seal of quality, but I don't think the set design was as good in this one. Hammer films to me work best when it is a smaller scale, more gothic affair, and it is
Mm.
for like half of the movie, but there's just something that is, I think, partially a limitation of the time, but the sets on all of the scenes where they're in Egypt just looked kind of like goofy and kids playground-y to me, and they weren't really capable of accomplishing the sort of level of scale that I would have expected for something that they were, talking about as grandiose as, like, a massive priestess's monolith over in the distance, and it's kind of just like a wall.
Eh,
So I was a little disappointed in that regard, but I was really impressed with just the basic design of the mummy. I thought that it looked as a monster pretty terrifying.
yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you two have said. My one thing is, and Dan kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, I think, but or no, it was Nico. I'm sorry, but obviously, and we're saying this from a 2022 perspective, but I mean, the whole kind of like, hey, listen, all the Egyptians was white. Trust me on this one, except for like the servants
Except
and
for the
slaves.
slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I was like
Didn't like
the
that.
only black and brown people there were like the servants and slaves, pretty much.
Really didn't like that.
But and you got like the white Egyptian princess. I was like, yo, it was funny because that reminds me of something my dad used to say. But anyways, so
No,
oh
no, no. You don't Chekhov's gun
Yeah,
this, you
yeah, you
asshole.
can't. You don't leave us
no
hanging.
no 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 no. So like just sometimes like white people would like find themselves in roles and shit like that, and my dad would be like, "Oh my god, Justin, it's the legendary white pharaoh. Don't you remember hearing stories of this?"
Hey,
And so like,
hey, Jesus was white, okay?
and so like,
And he had AR-15, brother.
and so like, I don't know. That's kind of the one thing that looks wise really stood out to me. And again, this was back in days. You know what I'm saying, before we've had some kind of more discourse on this topic, but still, like, it is something that stood out to me. Also, that limp that Peter Cushing was supposed to have, yeah, that limp came and went, bro.
Yeah,
At
it
one
did.
point in time,
Yeah.
he's like
For sure.
jetting across the room because like they were in Egypt. He's really like exaggerating that limp, and then all of a sudden when the mummy breaks in, fuck the limp, I gotta run, and it's just like, oh, okay. So there were
Fucking gallant strides out of nowhere.
yeah, there was times about that, but the first thing I want to talk about, and we've only mentioned his name once or twice here, but Christopher Lee. So this is yet another movie. We saw for Curse of Frankenstein, which was kind of the same thing, but Christopher Lee, just another voiceless, dialogueless role. I mean, we've seen him in 3 movies, and the only, not counting ones we reviewed, before this month, and I thought he did really well in the Hound of the Baskervilles. Like, I thought he did really well in that movie. He was really good with dialogue and everything else. And this is yet another movie where he just doesn't get to talk. So I wonder,
He's the priest in the flashback, right?
I mean, okay, aside from like the first off, does he even really say much then, even? Because it's narrated mostly.
I'm like 75% sure.
You might say a little bit, but I don't think he has like a lot.
Yeah, he really doesn't
Yeah.
have much to say at all, if he has anything at all to say. Because I know like a lot of it was like narrated and shit like that. But I mean, bruh, he has like maybe a paragraph if I'm being fucking generous
Sure.
compared to like the novel that they gave fucking everyone else. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is it a waste of him at a certain point, do you think? Because he obviously has that tall, imposing visage and everything like that. Is it worth it to have somebody with all that other skill, but only use them for their physical features? Do you consider that to be a waste?
I mean, this came out. Did this come out after Horror of Dracula? I think it did, right? Yeah. So honestly, I feel like this one was just conceptually to me like,
It did.
hey boys, let's make a
Yeah.
fun romp in Egypt. and you can do a Frankenstein again, but this time you're in bandages. See,
Mm-hmm. Dan, what's your take as the resident tallest person on the pod?
Yeah, tallest on a podcast of tall people. I mean, I think you're right that I think he's really just used for his imposing visage, as you put it. I mean, I wish he had more lines, but he does a good job being tall and intimidating.
imposing.
So, yeah, imposing. So,
Isn't it ironic? They always trying to keep tall people down, but that's okay. They find a way to rise up. Okay.
Hell yeah, brother.
So I now want to talk, and Nico, I want to talk about the scene specifically that we were having a little bit of a laugh about earlier. Your boy Mehmet, right?
hmm
And he gives a little bit of a speech. I want to talk about two things here. First, because I literally saw 0.000% of this. You thought there was a little bit of maybe a little bit of sexy tension between him and John?
Yeah, they were like linguistically dancing around each other while avoiding actually acknowledging the very clear recognition between them. And I think that that was one of the better scenes in the movie for what it is. I don't necessarily know that it was, intentionally done. And for the record, I'm just saying that this could be a reading of it, not necessarily the actual, again, intent or anything, but it's more than a possibility, I would say.
I'm curious, what about that? Like, what did they say or what did they do that tipped you off?
I don't see. When I was watching this, I was also really, really tired, and I don't remember what they said.
See, and this might just be my take on it, right? Because you might have a different take than me on it. But I'm watching this from like a brown man perspective, and this dude literally went on like a rant about how, like it is a noted thing. Because first off, I'm also pretty sure that John went in there to piss him off. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
he went in there to goad him and piss him off. Like, that's for sure. And so he was angering, like Mehmet when he was talking about like, oh, if it wasn't for us, like none of your history would be preserved, or like whatever else like that. And Mehmet was talking about like, oh, like you people desecrate where we come from, and like you do all this other shit. So I guess from that place of anger, I didn't really see what you saw, but who knows? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I'm seeing it from like a different,
No,
different
and
looking
everything
glass.
you said is absolutely true. It's just like the scene with, I think, arguably the most chemistry among any of the actors is that scene.
I mean, I think that's just because they're the two best actors in this. Because Christopher Lee don't really get to act too much.
Point.
Yeah.
But Dan, I want your take on that scene. What did you derive from it? And just in general, some themes of this movie.
So I was just really thinking like the really apparent like theme of like what you said, Justin, about like desecrating the old cultures and everything, and taking that, and the white man or whoever really, but most history, the white man taking taking these people's culture and history, and desecrating it
history.
and putting it in a museum and whatever, and doing whatever we want with it, regardless of what the culture wants. I also got like a strong light Yagami and what's his
Actually,
name?
yeah.
Strong
just
L.
an L with the dance around each other kind of thing.
Yeah. And people absolutely ship those two.
Yeah. That's true.
See, that's met, bro. They spent time in jail together, bro. Get out of here with that, okay? That's a
true.
whole different relationship that those two had. Also, I actually would 100.
They're also weren't magic death gods.
Hey, I'll say this much. Those two, I actually do believe those two feel deeply for one another.
For sure.
10,000% do. But keep going. Because Light is not interested in no woman.
Stay tuned for our bonus episode on Death Note.
Hey, we could. It is kind of horror. We could review one of the movies.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I just magicked that into existence for us, I guess.
True. Now, what does it say though? And is the movie trying to say anything at all by the fact that at the end, I mean, not to say it this way, but I'm gonna say it this way. The white man win. You know what I mean? Like that is how this movie does in fact end. They all
Yeah.
get together, bust caps, and the mummy dies. So
Yeah.
is there a message?
I mean, I don't think this was one of the more thought out of the films, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. And this might just be like me, but I'm kind of on Mehmet's side here.
Oh,
Like-
yeah, same.
Definitely.
100%,
Like
bro.
he literally straight up told them, like, yo, if you go in there, I'm not liable for the consequences, bro. Like, you can't go in here. And the dude went in there anyways, like Boldface went in there. And I was like, now, this is kind of my thing though. John never went in.
Yeah, that's facts.
Well, see, my thing is, Mehmet could have just gone in and
Marked him there.
yeah, and then been
Yeah.
done with it. Like they would have never, like aside from that, there would have been no more desecration, nothing. It would have been done.
Nah, bro, that would have invited like the British consulate. Are you kidding me? If he'd been killed at a dig site in Egypt, it would have been Bobby's all over, bro.
Really?
Throwing their toys out the pram.
They would have, bro. It would have been relics for everyone involved.
Yeah, okay.
But to kind of, keep things moving down here. Oh my. Okay, I'm sorry. Note to the audience, Nico titled this document Massive Mummy Milkers. And
You just noticed that?
and I was going to say to keep things moving down the milkers, but I caught myself. What the fuck is wrong with you, Nico? So anyways,
I'm proud of that one.
speaking of the Bobbies, I want to talk about the head one, the investigator. This man fucking sucks,
The head
bro.
Bobby.
Yeah, he's like the Bobby Pin, so to speak. I mean,
You gotta know what that sounds like.
I don't. So Dan, what's really good with the cops in this movie, bro?
He fucking sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, he's like, I don't believe a word about what you're saying about this mummy. Great, you shouldn't. Good job. And he goes, but what I do believe is that your father's death and this attack are connected, even though there's
Oh.
literally no evidence. There's no way that they could be
Zero.
connected at that point. Like, no way.
I mean, okay, aside from the fact they both got choked out.
The only connection is that they don't know who did it
Yes.
and they got choked. That's it.
Congratulations, you're connected to most murders.
What? That's not the way most people get murdered.
No, insofar as they don't know who did it.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough.
No, everyone since the dawn of time was choked out, Justin.
Yep.
There
everyone.
wasn't ever anything else.
Yeah, bruh. It's actually pretty rare. But anyways, speaking of, Nico, what did you think about the way the cops kind of ended up?
Speaking of how,
Pretty
what?
rare.
what part of am I rare? And do I get choked out?
I didn't say
What is the
anything.
speaking of?
Are
I'm
you
not-
rare like a Pokemon or rare like
Am
a
I like
steak?
a snake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there some alternative like shiny Nico available in some parts of the world if you catch it at the right time? Like,
Bruh, I feel like when I say rare, think about it, right? Like, there's another reason you could do
what's that?
if you're rared,
Okay.
right?
Sure. Okay, I'm following you.
So when you're rared, you're also by, I guess, like, you have been rared, right? But no one is rares. There's
I
only
don't know
rare.
what
What?
that means.
Right, because there's only rare, which was Selena Gomez's album.
This is that fucking thing where you say a word enough time it just starts to lose meaning. I love this. We are so far off the plot here, and I both love it, but am so confused
Oh, yeah.
as to what's happening.
So what I was gonna say is, so that was Selena Gomez's album, Rare, which contained the song Good For You, right?
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to know which scenes
Banger of a track.
which scenes were good for you in this movie? I.e., what was your favorite? See, I'm thinking about Selena Gomez right now. What you thinking on?
Yeah, now I just can't get that one visual from that video out of my head
Which one?
when she's laying on the floor.
Oh.
No, remember, what's that one vocal joint she does? She was like, ah, what's it on the song? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
what?
exactly that.
All right.
Come again there?
The subtle dulcet tones of Selena Gomez.
No, I swear to you, on one of those songs, she was like, ah, like it's meant to be like kind of like a sexy, steamy voice, but it comes out kind of like Squawks the parrot. So, moving on past all that,
Stay tuned for our bonus episode on Selena Gomez.
anyhow,
I guess.
hey, listen, I'm a big fan. I'm actually watching Only Murders in the Building right now. Anyhow, back to it. Favorite scene, Nico-san?
Oh, I mean, y'all already know it's the scene with the two of them
the two
having
of
that
them.
sort of confrontation.
Fair enough. Dan, you got a favorite scene?
I think I'd have to say that scene as well. To be honest, I didn't think there were a lot of scenes that particularly stood out.
Yeah.
See, I have a favorite scene too. My favorite scene in the movie was when the mummy fucking just like, I don't know what he did to that door. That door blew off its fucking hinges. He like exploded.
Yeah, for real,
like the
man.
mummy would straight up Kool-Aid man his way into this dude's house like multiple times. Like he would just like mash down a window, mash up a door, do what he has to do. So we just literally bust down the door, choked out this one dude in record time, and left. And I was like, that's right, mummy.
Yes, choking, my favorite scenes.
I was like,
You know what the kick down the door reminds me of though?
what's that? Our
Good
movie?
old Mr. Buns class.
Oh yeah?
Uh,
Oh yeah?
Literally any other letter would have worked better.
Nah, I got you. The the film we made where you played a character and you know what I'm saying?
it's always a B, Nico. It's always a B.
I know, but as soon as you said it,
you had was to kick down a fence.
Yeah, the Trigonator.
Bro, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
bro.
fuck me, man.
That was a real trigonometry class fucking sucked, bro. But that movie was what's up. So that being said though, Dan, I want to talk about injuries, right?
Injuries, okay.
And not just the kind that y'all do to me on a regular basis, but
Of course.
injuries in this movie, in this film, so to speak.
Okay.
I heard that, your boy C. Lee might have had one or two knocks. Could you go into some detail about that, please?
Yeah, so Seeley gets kind of fucked up in this movie.
Yeah.
Seeley, Christopher Lee.
Yes.
So, first of all, the squibs that Peter Cushing used to shoot Christopher Lee,
Yeah, like the blanks, right? Basically.
yeah, they actually left burn marks for a few weeks.
Ew. Fuck.
And
That sucks.
when he had to carry the girl, he like threw his back out.
Yo.
Yeah. And
And
when he was like walking in the swamp on that set, there all the pipes and everything were like running at the bottom, but he couldn't see them. So he would like continue to like step into and like bash his feet and legs up against these pipes. And so apparently one of the doors that the mummy busts through was accidentally bolted by a grip before the scene was actually shot. So when,
Oh,
when
no.
he tried to break down the door, he dislocated his shoulder.
big people ting.
Dude. Yo, I would be fucking pissed.
Yeah. So like some of the times when the mummy is like kind of like staggering, like walking, that's like kind of real a little bit.
God, poor fucking guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually pretty cool though. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna front. But now it's time for us to take matters into our own hands. It's time for the
Uh-oh.
what would you do? So
Wouldn't dig up a tomb. All right, cool. On to
Yeah.
the ratings.
yeah, I mean, fair enough. But let's say I'm gonna paint you all a slightly different scenario. Because remember, John never went in, right? So let's say
True.
the three of us now, you know what I'm saying, we go to Egypt because we have a friend. We'll call him Bonner.
You got a
And-
friend in Egypt.
Yeah. And Bonner basically took us there. Little did we know he went to go like find a mummy. And he does, but he gets a curse placed on him and us by like association.
Who could have seen this coming?
So we go back to England because that's where we're all from. And, we're coming back from watching the lads play, a quick game of football. And all of a sudden Bonner's dead. And we're like, oh shit. And
Hate to see it.
we know that it was like Mehmet, and we try and reason with him like, yo, we never went there. He's like, nah, bro, mummy's still coming after that ass. So at that point in time, what would your plan be? Like, what would you, and there's no like Princess Anna Karis or whatever the fuck her name is. Shout out to Marvel's Capcom 2. But the whole point being, how would you stop the mummy if it was coming after us as a group? Like, what would your defense tactic be? What should we do?
Gun.
Well, you saw that like one gun had like very little effect.
2 gun.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3 gun. You just gonna blast it?
Yes, many gun.
True.
I would use Molotov cocktails.
Set it on flames.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, that's brilliant, yeah.
See, I too had a next idea. I feel like people didn't really play like enough kind of video game, enough kind of whatever you want to call it. If one damage type is not working out, you got to switch to the next. So okay,
It's fact, though.
he did his bullet shot. Okay, probably not effective. Listen, he's still a mummy. He's still a dude. So go to your kitchen, pull your cutlass, and chop. He can't choke you if he has no hand.
Fair point.
Could choke you with his thighs.
And while I respect that and sometimes request it on occasion, I feel like you could just a next chop. That's all you need to do. Also, how's the mummy about to get you with his thighs, bruh? What kind of slow ass do you have to have the mummy literally like straddle your face? You know what I mean? Like that's
The
some-
fucking kids in the halls these days.
what?
Sorry, no, there's this one intersection at my work where it's like actually 400 people in a 20 by 20 little square, fuck you, and it's just hell on earth walking through it. I just had a little PTSD flashback. Don't worry about it. It's a teacher thing.
Well, that was
You said slow ass, and I was just thinking of all the lumps of just people standing, not going anywhere at all. It's like you want a wall of death? This is a wall of flesh.
so to pose the question succinctly. I think that no one would get caught by the mummy, but if you're right, we could be slow or impeded and get caught that way. Dan, what would your plan of attack be besides Molotov cocktails? Anything else more specific, or are you just going to pelt it with the bottles all day?
I feel like Molotov cocktail is pretty specific, actually.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Having said that, I feel like even though the mummy managed to Kool-Aid man his way into a lot of places, I feel like the good old-fashioned just like drawstring trap would have got him.
Oh, like to
he
trip him?
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Chainsaw.
additionally, we could have also like
Yeah, just get it.
we could have like
Sure.
hey, we could have lured him to like a big ass pit.
Yeah. We could have brought the Terminator in.
No, but seriously, we could have brought him to a big ass pit. And then like he'd have fallen in the pit. And then you can go to like your backyard and get some lava and pour it in the pit and like
Oh, yeah.
game over.
Yeah, some good old backyard lava. TM.
Hey, bro, careful with that. That's also a euphemism for something else. What?
I'm terrified now.
Those who are like really deep thinkers will get that one.
Slow ass.
Low and slow. Low and slow. That's how you get the best braised ribs. Well, with those meaningless
Oh my God.
statements out of the way, it's time for the critic review. And I want an honest guess. Nico, this is the last movie we've got in our Hammer Horror series. So let's keep everything above board, shall we? What do
Mhm.
you think this movie got from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes?
I don't imagine this one's aged as well. I'm going to guess a 68.
68, he says. Dan, where are you at with this one?
See, I want to say what kind of around Nico, but I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to say they give it like an 85.
Okay.
Oh, yeah?
Return of
Okay.
the King. That's right. Dan, would you believe this one got a 91% from critics on
Wow.
Rotten Tomatoes?
Wow.
The audience trails in closer to you, Nico, with
That's-
the 63 from the
Jeez,
audience.
okay, I feel a little better.
But I want to know what you guys think. So tell me, just real quick, your thoughts about the movie and what score you would give it.
Yeah, I didn't like this one as much as the others. I wanted to because I was really into, like Egyptology as a kid, and I love the just whole sort of environment that you can work with in that sort of genre. But this was kind of hokey at parts and just not as well put together in other places. I still had an okay time with it because, like I said, the sort of Hammer horror sheen was there and the actors were good. They gave good performances, but this one just wasn't hitting it for me. I'm going to give this a 60.
Mm-hmm. Dan, how about you?
I'm right there with you, Nico. It was fine, but I feel like it was kind of lackluster and just, I don't know, it was fine. 60 for me as well.
So I'm also pretty much in agreement with the two of you. This is my least favorite of the 4 Hammer horror films we've watched this month. And I can't really say anything else than what you guys have said. I think Christopher Lee somewhat wasted in the role. Obviously, he's there for his, looks and everything else like that. And obviously, he's probably boys with the director and Peter Cushing as well. But all in all, I'm a little more lenient on it than you guys are. I'm going to give this one a 62, but I really don't think it's that good. So, would you recommend this movie to our listeners?
Honestly, no.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, especially because
Yeah.
if you do want to watch a mummy movie, you can watch the Brendan Fraser one and Rachel Weisz, and trust
It's
me,
just so much fucking
it's
better.
so much better.
Literally every way.
Yeah. The plots are even kind of similar-ish. Like, not really, really similar, but they have some common threads running between them. There's even like a scroll.
Ananka, Anaxinaman.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Or
know,
like,
mummies.
now, I will say, the Brendan Fraser one at
The
least...
British.
The Brendan Fraser one at least did me the goddamn courtesy of not saying that Rachel Weisz was Egyptian. They at least
Yeah.
fucking did me the courtesy.
Yeah.
And more so he was like, no, she's actually really bad. I'm going to put my ex's soul into her. And I was like, I see you, Imhotep. I see what you've done here.
It's a creative man diversifying his
His
solutions.
Bro.
Yes.
He's like, well, she's dead. He did try to get her. In all fairness, he did try, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I mean, if
He
I
spit
have
game
to.
and just
Yeah.
flies came out.
He was like, if I have to be with someone, I guess this smoking hot Rachel Weisz I'll take that, I guess. It's like, okay,
the things I
Imhotep.
have to put up
Okay,
with.
Imhotep. But enough of my drooling. I agree with you, though. Like I said before, I wouldn't recommend this one either. So, that being said, it's not going to get the golden seal of approval either. And yeah, any last words before we wrap this up? Out of curiosity, what was your favorite? Of the 4 Hammer horror movies we've seen, what was your favorite?
I
This
think it's
month.
between Phantom and Frankenstein, but I don't know which I rated higher off the top of my head.
Okay. Dan?
I don't remember what I rated the movies, but looking back, I kind of feel like The Hound of Baskerville, actually.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the Hounds of the Baskerville as well. Like, it just has, it really like touches the detective part of me, I think. And I really dig that. I really dig that. But if our listeners have anything they want to say, want to chime in with any words of wisdom, let us know where we're right or wrong, hit us up. We're on social media, of course. Twitter and Instagram, that's at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook, that's Don't Open That Door. Plus, you can check out everything we've done on our website. Of course, that's dotdhorror.com. But till then, don't go robbing things from other cultures. Take care of one another. And as
And
always...
Rachel Weisz, if you're there, I love you.
No, I love you more. But as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye. Yeah, dude, she was like one of my fucking, and kind of still is, one of my big fucking
Oh.
crushes.
Absolutely.
Bruh,
Mm-hmm.
bruh, straight up. Straight fucking up.